Well, welcome to the October 8th, 2024 session of TAPR and HamSCI technical session. My name is Dave, uh, and this week I've been working on projects. Actually, rebuilding a 3D printer is one of my projects, and it's not hard but tedious. And I've been cleaning up uh, my configuration. I built, put up a bunch of Pi versions to go to work with my K9Qs. So I'm going back to rerunning all the different kinds of receivers that Phil supports. So uh, that's it for me. Next on the list is Nathaniel. Go ahead, Nathaniel.
Thanks, Dave. Things are going fine here. Just keeping busy with all of the different projects and trying to keep things on track and are going along. I've seen a bunch of news come through about the antenna group on the internet, and I'm excited to hear about their updates. It sounds like they've been quite active, and I know that it's Majid has been working hard with Robinette, and Michael Howen on getting the W3 USR receivers on the air. So I appreciate that. So back to net.
Very good. Next on the list is Dave, KD0EAG. Go ahead.
Not a lot not a lot here to report. I've spent an absolutely appalling amount of time just taking boxes and writing on them what's in them. Has been one of my big undertakings in the last week, and it doesn't feel like I'm any further along than I was when I started. I just found something I was looking for when I began that a week ago, and in a very unlikely place. But otherwise, not a lot that's profound. I've been doing a bunch of KiCad, whatever. Um, but some of that's slow going because I'm trying to figure out how to do things that are not my favorite things to do. So anyway, that's it for me.
Well, fine business. And next on the list is Scott in 5TNL, and he's no Mike. So next on the list is Bill, AB4EJ. Go ahead, Bill.
Thanks, Dave. Have been attending this meeting because I've been singing with a chorus that meets on Monday night. But anyway, we had our fall concert, in which I performed the "You Got Trouble" from Band. But anyway, so I'm back here for a while. So been pretty busy on project related things. We had a request to add tick marks and grid lines to the plots and the spectrum plots. So I've got it to where it works, but now that we're running a production server with a lot of users, has to be there's a protocol we have to go through on how we put anything on production now. In fact, we're working with our IT department. They're going to build us a test server so that we can test things on a server that's just like the production box before we roll things into production. And that will be tied to the GitHub so we know that there's a traceability of code. So working on that. I had a request to take a look at some things related to the calibration of the Grape One system. And we I got some help from Gwen Griffiths, and we looked at all of the circuitry and everything else, and we don't see any clear and easy way of knowing exactly what. Anyways, not clear to me how we can mathematically calculate what the numbers should be coming out of the system. So I'm putting a request into John Gibbons to see if we can get him to take one of the Grape Ones and put some known signal strengths into it, and then take a look what the data comes out. and then we'll know how to calibrate the thing. Also, I mentioned we're building a new test box, so we'll be putting the I say test box. It's a virtual system, but it's a new operating system. So we're going to have an identical production and test for the personal space weather station network system. But we found out also that the server we've been using for the HamSCI data is pushing 10 years old, the operating system, and they're going to be dropping support on it here within the next few months. So we got to build a new server there. So we might as well have OIT. While we've got OIT's attention, we might as well get them to do all of it at once. And then we'll be ready to hop right on a lot of things beginning of the year when the DAISY Phase 2 starts up. We're also going to create another status for some stations. There are some stations that created data and have been taken permanently offline, but they still have valuable data out there. So we're going to create another station status called retired. And the icons will probably look gray and be kind of transparent so that you can see that there's data there, but don't expect to get any new data. So we're working on that. We also have a project going right now to import the historical data. So we're trying to get all on the personal space weather station network server, all the data collected by the Grape One legacy stations that's been filtered through FLDigi, as well as be prepared to accept the new data coming from the Grape 2, which right now we're thinking that Kong is going to give that to us in DRF format. So hopefully that works out fine. We should be able to be compatible, other than the fact that it has a much wider bandwidth. So we're going to have do some tricky things in code to be able to extract a compatible plot. It's doable, but we have to plow some new ground, I guess you would say, in software. So that's story from Northport and Tuscaloosa. Roll Tide. We didn't roll very well this past weekend, but hopefully next weekend will be better. So back to Ned.
Well, we had similar problems here in
Yes,
Missouri.
I heard that. Yeah, yeah.
So anyway, next on the list is Bob N5BRG.
Okay, not a lot to report. I had a networking cable slip out of one of my switches here for my station, and I noticed on the website, the Alabama website there, that I wasn't getting data up, or no, I got an email telling me I wasn't. So I went snooping around and found out this cable had come unplugged, plugged it back in, and everything seemed to catch up. It did what it was supposed to do, I believe, and set the earlier files, and science is wonderful. Anyway, that's all I have for
Well, it's wonderful when it works.
the.
Okay, well, thank you. Next on the list is David N1HAC. Go ahead, David.
Good evening, everyone. A lot of things going on. I don't know if anyone saw Aurora last night, I think it was. Um, I would have had a chance, except I got the wrong time. There was a brief burst of Aurora, apparently, but there were those around here who saw it, and a lot of other areas. There might be some tonight. I just noticed that we were getting some more bursts of geomagnetic
Yep.
activity. Very strange set of CMEs coming through. Um, we were up at Stellafane Saturday night, hoping it was a beautiful, clear night, and we got some nice observing in. As I like to say, we were using our terahertz receivers, but no aurora. It would have been a great night for it to happen, but came in late. Um, Watching, both space weather and terrestrial weather. Um, I feel bad for the guys down in Florida. They're about to get nailed again. Um, but And then working on antennas, I've got a couple of the antenna preamps supposedly on the way. We'll see. They're coming postal service, so all bets are off, I'm afraid. And I just put together a 30 megahertz 10-meter beam that will be pointing straight up. It's a rheometer antenna that I'll use as a reference for what I'm trying to do in that direction. This is something I'm doing for the movie project, which is an adjunct citizen science that some of us are working on. And I think that's about it. Oh, propagation was wacko today too.
Yeah.
People probably noticed. The only solid WWV I was seeing was 15, and even CHU was weak. But
There were a couple X-class flares today.
oh, and that yes, there were another couple of good-sized flares again. So more shall be revealed, and the beatings will continue until uh, morale improves. So back to net.
Okay. Next on the list is Jonathan, KC3EEY. Go ahead, Jonathan.
Hi, everybody. Um, I believe that this morning around 5:30 local time, I saw a very faint pink glow in the sky.
Hmm.
That was noticeable. So I believe that I did see some very faint aurora. But again, it was hard to make out any sort of definition. And I saw it while I was on the way to work uh, this morning. Um, but that was really cool. And the nice thing about monitoring VLF transmitters is that um, during these heavy solar storming events, you can actually see uh, the effects of these solar storms on VLF transmitters. So, for example, you can see. So this is NAA at 24 kilohertz. This was today. It's a Monday. You can see the bottom plot where the amplitude goes right down. They seem to do their service or maintenance on the transmitter every Monday. So this is a normal occurrence. But what I want to draw your attention to is during the nighttime. So you can see the uh, amplitude of the signal from midnight UT to around 6. And then you can see that there's a more small scale variations of the signal amplitude from 6 until 9. And these small scale variations are often seen during these heavy geomagnetic storms and sightings of aurora. So this is really really interesting. Um, that that I just I I always check this to see, and I'm not really sure what the mechanism is causing this. Um, It'd be really interesting to figure out, but this is a very common thing on these VLF transmitters. These a very short duration variations in amplitude, and so I just wanted to show that. Um, in contrast, the previous day, um, when there wasn't um, when the CMA didn't really, or when the CMA didn't did not arrive yet, um, you you can see that there might have been some small scale variations here, but I'm not really sure if this is an effect or not. But there might be some, but towards the later part of the night, nothing really going on. You can also see that there were some so some solar flares. You can see in the shark fin responses. So it's actually a pretty neat. So I just wanted to show that. And there was one thing that I noticed. Nathaniel prepared some slides for another project, and I was looking at his slides, and I noticed that for the RX-888, there were two examples of host computers that were used in various setups. One was the one was the B-Link, and the other was a Lenovo thin client. And I'm Rob. I'm not sure if you might have gave Nathaniel that recommendation, but I looked into that thin client, and it's very similar to the Dell thin clients that I've been working with. In fact, it also has a way to add a serial port to it. So that is a thin client that absolutely can be used with my VLF system and the appropriate serial port daughter board, which can work act as the back end processor. So I just wanted to discuss that if there was time, if that might have been chosen by accident or chosen on purpose. I was just kind of curious about it. That's all I have. Back to the net.
Okay. Next on the list is Michael Howen, AC0G. Go ahead, Michael.
Good evening, everybody. I've been a little busy this week with work, but did take delivery of the DX engineering antenna that Nathaniel had included in the grant. And so I want to show, if I can, if you're seeing this. Are you seeing my shared
Yes.
screen?
Yes,
Okay,
it's
good.
sharing.
So this is unfiltered real-time spectrum display of the antenna, and it's not doing too bad. This is out of the box. I didn't have time to try to do some optimization stuff, and I inserted no inline filters. So there's no shelving filter here, and there's no medium wave filter. So you can see the big heap of medium wave signals down there. And the noise figure in the low bands is obviously there as well. I have this spiked in a 8-foot ground rod out in my yard, and 100 feet of RG6 back to the shack. The only thing I've added to this that's not default is a inline DC block. I just did it presumptively to try to minimize whatever common mode stuff might be trying to sneak into the line there. It's a fairly simple setup. I should say, and I don't know how much of a factor this is, but the assembly process it took about an hour altogether, going through a couple little missteps and backtracking with respect to the orientation of the back plane for the device and this and that. So, and you do need to provide a couple add-ons, SS30 to keep the joints in the aluminum antenna pieces connected and to prevent them from oxidizing and that sort of thing. But overall, it wasn't overly complicated, but it wasn't one of these things where you can sort of pull it out of the box, stick it out to your out in your backyard and plug it into the receiver immediately. So that's something that needs to be acknowledged just in terms of a deployment issue. I've already got some feedback from, let me stop. Well, do I need to stop this or can I jump to another screen?
You can't.
Did that jumps?
No, you have to. You have to change what you.
Okay, so I shared a specific thing. Let me show you. I'll have to make sure it's up someplace. Um, where is it? I just wanted to show you. It's actually in the email, so I don't have to waste time looking for it. Gwyn sent a oh, maybe I can share this. Here we go. Maybe you see that. Gwyn
Yes.
sent a table that this is sort of on a single site, a comparison of some of the figures. I have 4 antennas here, 4 888s hooked up. This FB is the unit that has the new antenna. B1 is a 160 meter doublet. B2 is a 3-legged terminated folded dipole, and LN is an inverted L. So these are the figures that, as you can see, he compiled based just on some recent data that show some of the differences. So the bottom line here is that out of the box, with default settings, I think the default on this thing is attenuated, as a matter of fact. There are 3 jumper settings that you have to reset internally on the device: -6 dB, 0 dB, and +6 dB. So this is the default setting of -6 dB.
Michael, he has that keyed as B1 is doublet. Is that incorrect? Is
B1
B1
is
the
a doublet.
vertical?
No, not vertical. It's a
Oh,
doublet.
you don't have the vertical in this?
The vertical is FB, Foxtrot Bravo.
He,
That's the comparison.
But he's showing B1 is doublet, B2 is the terminated dipole, and LN
And
inverted
LN.
L.
So it's the new DX3
Oh, comparing
compared to
gotcha.
each of
Now I
those 3
understand what you're
antennas.
doing.
Compared to
Okay.
each of those 3 antennas. Uli sent me a screen. He saw these sort of noise spikes. Those are yet to be explained. These spikes that he pointed out in a noise pattern. And then this is another dashboard display that Gwyn sent along. Anyway, the point in part is to just tell you all that the even on the just getting it out of the box, throwing it together, slobbing some SS30 on the joints and sticking it out in the yard. I haven't tried to even optimize the position in my yard for the lowest noise position. With 100 feet of RG6, the radio performs well. And when I look at what I've been recording as whisper and PSK spots over the past 24 hours and more since the thing has been up, it's rivaling my other antennas, the better of the 3 other antennas. It doesn't do as well as the terminated 3-leg folded dipole. It kind of rivals the inverted L, and the doublet is a little bit behind, but it doesn't do too bad, and I haven't optimized it. nor have I filtered it, nor is there any other amplifier in line. So that's the status that I've got so far.
Michael, what was that
what-
FM signal I saw on your spectral display around 32 megahertz? Is that an FM image?
Um, Let me have a look at that. I don't.
It
Are you,
looked like an
what,
FM broadcast image, but it seemed like it was in an odd place.
the one up at 32 megahertz?
Yeah.
Yeah, that could be. I haven't actually tried listening to it to see what it is. It's just a little less than 32. It's probably
Okay.
like 31.8 or something. And
You
maybe it
don't have
is.
then
an anti-aliasing filter in place?
There's nothing in place.
Oh,
I
Okay.
then, oh,
That's the
well
reason.
then,
Yeah.
no, yeah, okay. Well,
nothing.
that's now
So
you
that
need
could
you,
very well be that.
yeah.
I have nothing. I have no low pass filter. Nothing
Yeah,
else
you're
is
going
in
to
there.
see aliasing back and forth all across.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I just wanted to show what this looked like out of the box,
Oh,
basically,
yeah.
you know,
Wow.
and I
Okay.
think in that respect, I think it's promising. You know, I think the low pass filter is going to help. Obviously, I'd be interested in your advice about whether I should stick the shelving filter in, and the obvious big pile of power that's emitted in the medium wave band is significant too. So
Michael, do you have any idea why the noise floor keeps jumping up? You just muted.
beg your pardon. I don't exactly, and it's a problem that I'm trying to chase down at my site, because I've seen this kind of behavior on all my antennas, and so uh, it it's a local phenomenon. I don't think it's something that's of significance to the antenna as a whole. Um, it's something that I need to optimize here
So you
because I'm
see it
seeing
on
it
the
on
other
all my antennas.
antennas. You
I
do
do,
see it on the other antennas? Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, because I've
I,
got something like
the,
that going on at my site too.
I don't know if it's there's a pole with a transformer on it that's about 100 meters away that's in a neighbor's yard that's actually part of the power delivery into my property. It might be that. I've tried turning off just about everything I can think of that's in the building that my radios are sitting in, and I don't see it disappear. So it remains a bit of a mystery. And I've got a tiny SA Ultra that I'm going to use with an antenna to try to walk around and see if I can figure out what the hell's going on. The field probe that Glenn has developed that I may be able to hook up to that could help as well. I'm
What
going to
was
have to do
the
some.
what was the frequency range you were displaying just then? Up to 30?
Correct. It's the baseline.
Because I
Um,
noticed it was only jumping below like 15 megahertz.
well, and there were every once in a while there's one of those cross um, sudden
Yeah.
spikes that go all the way across the spectrum, and sometimes the density is further up and sometimes it's further down on the frequency spectrum. So I don't know that they're the same source or just exactly what they are. I don't know if there's some.
What
Uh,
have you been looking at Phil's control program to see what the it's reporting, because it'll tell you about there's information in there about the peak, the average and the peaks for the RF and for the audio, resulting audio. But the RF is what you care about. There's that I would go look there. I'll tell you about the levels too. Whether you're 6 dB too low, you can look there and find out about how to set the gain on the antenna.
Yeah, the two numbers to look for are the RF input level and then time since the last overload.
okay. Well, I haven't I had a chance on between two shifts. I had one day where I
Understood.
put the antenna together and got it up and running. I haven't really had a chance to do any other analysis. Actually, Gwen has spent this more time than I have on this, actually throwing together some of that data
Well,
on what's been uploaded.
Michael, the whisper spot count is only one metric for the quality. That isn't the prime target of these sites. It's to generate wave WWV data. So I think that just it's a good place to start, but it's not the only place to look for the performance of your antenna systems. So, by the way, as part of that, I mailed you two Kiwi SDRs today, so you can do two antennas at once and put them up,
Oh, sweet.
and the spectrums are infinitely better than what you were showing from the K9Q. It's you'll get a lot more insights into things like bursts and so on from the Kiwi's displays.
Well, I will. I think I can share this. Let me see if I can do this. Um, is that a different window? That's Chrome. No, I don't want Chrome. I was going to display. Oh, there we go. Maybe. There it is. Okay. This is the WWV data uploaded to and displayed at Bill's site at the University of Alabama for this antenna for the last
Oh
24
yeah.
hours.
Oh, and then you are getting overloads.
So I'm getting some overloads, but
Yeah. Awesome.
it's yeah, it requires some tweaking. But
Are
as I
you
said,
running which version of Whisper Demon is this, and how is it
the
configured?
latest, the
Okay.
latest.
Well, what we've found is that it's best to turn off the channel gain AGC, and it introduces a lot of confusion. So we've been well. I'll talk about it later. But anyway, we should work. Let me help you with this.
Okay, cool. And this week I'm cool. I got some time, so
Okay.
we'll have a chance to. Anyway, back to that. I'm sorry I
Oh,
chewed up a lot of time.
okay. Let's see. I'm trying to. So we got a couple new people that jumped in here. Dave New.
You
Go
need to
ahead, Dave.
share, Michael.
Yeah, I sorry I'm late. I have another Zoom call that's back to back with this one and it ran over.
Okay.
But I'm the fly on the wall again this year.
Oh, very good.
Right.
Let's see. Neil in 7 KDI. Comments?
Can you hear me, Dave?
Yes.
Thank you for letting me join tonight. I have always been interested in what you guys are working on, and I saw the email invite this evening and wanted to join and listen in for a little bit. What you're doing is fascinating, and I've enjoyed some of the other things that Nathaniel's talked about and presented over the last couple of years. I work for uh, at the Idaho National Laboratory in southeastern Idaho as a mechanical engineer, and I've been licensed as an amateur for just a technician for many years. But thank you for letting me join. I hope you're not upset with me joining in, but
No.
I'd like to learn more and maybe participate as someone on this side of the United States. So that's all I
Well,
have. Thank you.
you're welcome, and we're happy to have you. And if you find it interesting, please come back.
Thank you.
Okay, let's see. What else? Next on the list is Phil, K9Q. Go ahead, Phil.
Hey guys, I don't really think I have a whole lot of things to report here, but certainly happy to answer questions, and I'll hop in as other things come up. Go back to.
And next on the list is Tom in 5EG. Go ahead, Tom.
Oh, good evening, Dave and the group. Been a busy week moving and trying to get a Think Center booting headlessly. In moving, I went through a stash of my dad's old stuff and I found something interesting. This was in his pile of stuff and it says remove before flight. This actually flew on the Apollo 7 mission, and they found it in the aft part of the command module after the Apollo 7 was plucked out of the ocean. So kind of an interesting artifact.
Was it attached to anything?
Yeah, it was attached to a pin where they're supposed to pull the pin out of some propulsion or hydraulic or oxygen system. I'm not sure what, but anyway, they
That's a
found
pretty big
this.
tag. I mean, how could they?
Yeah, you'd think it'd be hard to miss, wouldn't you?
Mhm.
So anyway, that Apollo 11 flew on October 11th, 1968, and came down October 22nd,
You mean
1968.
seven?
Yeah, Apollo 7. And it
7.
was Walter Schirra, Don Isley, and Cunningham were the three astronauts on that. That was the first manned Apollo mission that they found that on. So kind of an interesting artifact to pull out of the basement. I'm trying to get the Think Center to boot headlessly, and I found that I have to have the keyboard attached to get it to boot. I can pull the mouse, I can pull the monitor, but if the keyboard's plugged in, it will not boot. And after troubleshooting, I found that Grub is reading the non-existent keyboard and reading characters from the keyboard
Mhm.
that is not plugged in. And that causes the Grub timer to say, stop, wait till the cows come home for a completion of the typing. So I was able to set a timer to 0 so that it wouldn't wait. And thus, instead, it reads wild characters, causing the Grub display to flash up and down and to pick a non-existent operating system to boot from, which it doesn't boot well. So I've completely failed in trying to get this Think Center to boot headlessly. If anyone's got ideas, I spent 2 days on it. I'm wide open. So back to the group.
Well, thank you, Tom. Tom, let's see. I believe I've called on everybody. Oh, Rob Robinette. Go ahead.
Well, good evening. Um, let's see. In addition to talking with Michael about that, which we'll do, I think we could do offline. But I my major activities were I was out at well, let's see. I didn't go to KPH, but I've done some. Phil stimulated me, I think, by saying, "Do you really need to have all this extra CPU power given to Whisper D?" So I've done some experiments that show how much you can gain by throwing gobs of CPU cycles at whisper decoding. And it turns out that the default, if you go at a site which has lots of signals, like KPH, if you throw no extra flags and tell Whisper to do the minimal decode, and then go to the settings that WSJTX uses, which is -T500-O-D, Phil, those three settings, you get about 15% more spots out of at the cost of, you know, uh, a minute of ARM core's time. So it, you're throwing, billions of CPU cycles at a wave file, and you're getting an extra 15%.
Do you ever get any false decodes?
Interestingly, we eventually you will, of course, if you go. So I did as the next and really final step is I increased the C value from 500 to 1,000, which doubled the CPU utilization and got about 1.5 percent extra spots and no false decodes at that level. So you have to go above C1000, I think, before you'll see a lot of, any false decodes. But boy, think of the billions of cycles of uh, and all the little electrons floating around to extract just a few extra spots. Anyway, that's been one experiment. We've been doing some work at WWV0 at the receive site. Dave Schwartz, I don't know if he's here, um, but his receive site. Uh, Gwen observed, I think we may have discussed this last week, that when I introduced the AGC, both the RF turned on Phil's new RF AGC, and then turned on the channel AGC managed by Whisper Demon, that the wave files, the WWV recordings, the amplitudes start to oscillate, as you would expect, oscillate around as the AGC adjusts it. So I added a feature to disable that channel-based AGC. Phil, your RF AGC seems to work perfectly. It does, it does. We don't see any overloads or perturbations of the levels that. Now, this site is line of sight, 4 kilometers, 6 kilometers from the WWV towers, so that we can see that the RX 888, the Grape 2 system does actually, there's less than a millihertz of error, that you can detect, because of course it's line of sight and really truly ground wave reception. So we're still exploring that, to calibrate the Grape 1s and Grape 2s against the Whisper Demon Grape. That's the purpose of this WWV0 site, is to calibrate Grape Whisper Demon Grape site so that the data that we record is compatible and with the data being uploaded by the Grape 1 and Grape 2 systems. So that's a work in progress, but I think I think I have a solution. So, and and I've been building and refurbishing a lot of Kiwi SDRs, and I actually uncovered that I have a whole trove of them. So if there's any, I've shipped 2 of the Kiwis to you, Michael, but if someone else could put them to good use, I have 4 more that I don't think I have a particularly good purpose for them.
Are they
So I mean,
originals or the newer model?
no, they're all originals. I do have one that's a turbo Kiwi that can decode 14 channels simultaneously. So we used that 14 channel Kiwi to compare it against the 888 in much the way that Michael's been comparing antennas. We were comparing different the Kiwi against the 888 and established that they were the same, and we were as the indistinguishable sensitivity between the two. But the user interface on the Kiwi is infinitely better. So that's why I thought I'd ship it to you. Anyway, those are my activities, and we can talk about other stuff or more about what I've been doing if it's of interest. Oh, by the way, oh yes, and I worked with Majid. I forgot.
Oh.
And uh, do you I think saw your email this morning, Nathaniel. I noticed, yes, I wanted to change the call signs to whatever you want. You have you have a broken 888, which I think is on its way to me. And then I think you have 2 other 888s, unmodified 888s. And Majid was going to get the adapter kits from TAPR to external clock adapters and thermal adapter kits, and maybe some isolation transformers. Your site is that antenna is very difficult. I'm surprised how well it does given the low signal levels that we're getting.
This is the one at the university, right?
Yeah, it's a DX engineering loop, I think.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No, that one. Now, you said you had ideas for improving or identifying the RFI there?
Well, I have a procedure that I was going to walk Majid through, and
Okay.
what part of the kind of the starting point is to battery power everything,
Right.
and and disconnect everything from the antenna. So the antenna has the RF ground for the antenna is back at the input of the RX 888, and not that there are multiple ground points and loops and so on,
Yeah.
because any SDR,
Right.
is sensitive to ground loop induced RFI.
Yeah. So I mean, if it's a ground loop sort of thing, that's something we can probably resolve, right?
Oh yes, I
Yeah.
mean when he put in, there was a filter there, I think a bandpass filter of some sort.
Yes, there was a bandpass filter
Yeah,
there.
and if you take that out, you'll
Mm-hmm.
see huge RFI spikes across the whole spectrum.
Right.
Okay, is
Yes,
that
I've seen
okay?
I've seen that, and that's
Okay.
why I put that bandpass filter
Well,
in.
yeah, but that's a band-aid on something. There's something
Yeah.
really wrong that ought to be fixed, and in your installation. Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
uh, so hopefully I can walk Majid through the process and we can isolate what's the.
That would be really great because that's something that I never have had time to like dig into.
Uh,
Um, but yeah, we it definitely needs to be addressed.
okay, well, I'm always available for house calls, but it's a it's a pretty expensive hourly rate, so it's a uh uh anyway, I'll work with Majid.
Yeah, if you can, I mean, if you can work with Majid, that would be really good because
Uh,
he has more time to tinker than I do.
I, I understand. Just wanted you to be aware. And
Yeah.
now,
What do you think about now? What do you think about the preamp that I suggested?
um, I'm
The-
not sure I'm not sure you need a, I didn't see that. I'm sorry. I probably didn't read down in your email. I'm not sure.
Okay.
The question is, how many devices are you feeding off this antenna?
Well, it could be potentially quite a few.
Well, then you need to go to some different kind of technology. You need a real active distribution system.
Yeah.
Uh, that because that the splitter that you were going through, hey, 16 ports or something, or 20 out, that
Right.
does some binary power of two number of ports on that. Well, that introduced 20 dB of signal loss.
Right. So
So you could
I have that at my house here, but I have a that um
you
I've
need
got that
20.
preamp ahead of it.
Yeah, well then you may end up with a net. You need in front of a RX 888 or Kiwi or any the wideband SDRs I know about. You need to have a good 10 dB gain ahead of them. They
Right.
the amplifiers, the RF amplifiers inside these SDRs, they're designed not to be the lowest noise possible. They're reasonable, but not the lowest noise possible. But very frequently become the source of more noise than you get from the antenna system at higher frequencies, especially. So
Right. Right.
so you get up to 20 meters and in quiet times, what you're hearing, the noise you're hearing is coming from your RF amplifier and your receiver. It's not appearing
What
on
are,
the antenna
what are you
terminal.
thinking of using for a preamp, Nathaniel?
Advanced receiver research preamp.
Oh yeah, those
Um,
are good, but we use them. They're
yeah.
20 dB, so if even if you split it afterwards,
Yeah, I think, and
um,
that's what I'm doing at my house. I have
yeah,
the 20 dB ARR
right.
preamp followed by like the splitter, so I think it works out to be like a net zero.
Well, probably not. I mean, split to 16 ways, that's 12 dB loss.
Yeah,
So you'd still with the 20 dB amplification, you'll still have a net gain.
yeah, that would be good. Robin,
Each time you split it by two, you lose 3 dB.
3 dB, yeah.
So four
So
times, that's 12 dB.
that sounds correct.
So it's probably a
Yeah.
good way to go.
Yeah, and it seemed to be working at my house. But I think so I think we try that, but that doesn't, you know, I'm looking. Yeah, there it's all 20. Yeah. Um David McGaw is right. It's a 20 dB amplifier. So we'd put that in front of it,
Yeah,
in
and they
front of
have
the
a very
splitter.
high dynamic range, so it's an
Right.
excellent amplifier to put in that service.
Yeah. So we put that in front of the splitter and then we can use the splitter. But that doesn't solve the ground loop problem.
So
So,
you'll you'll find there's a technique to isolate these things and identify the source.
yeah. Yeah, if you
Well,
could
in
work
fact,
with
the those transformer isolators,
Well,
um,
he has one in place
yeah,
already, but it to
well,
suppress it, but it
you
would,
may have to use more than one.
yeah, well, they're no, that's it's enough, but I mean, these are 20 dB spikes every 100 kilohertz going up to, across, up into the megahertz range. So I've never seen so much RFI on a
Mhm. One thing we can do, when I first put that antenna in, like we just threw that antenna up on the roof. I didn't really have anything else to compare it to. And so I don't know if it was coming, if there's a problem with that antenna installation itself, or if there's like something else on the roof. One thing we have up on the roof now is a 40-80 meter fan dipole located not terribly far from that receive loop. It'd be interesting to see if you see the same RFI on that um on the fan dipole.
Very good thing. It's well, you have two. Is that signal from that fan dipole available in the lab where where the DX engineering signal is?
Yeah, you can, it's very easy to patch through.
Okay, okay. Well, then you have two triple eights. This is exactly what you want to do is a comparison. So you
Yeah.
run the two triple eights, and we'll look at the spectrum and compare the two spectrums. You'll be able to look at them side by side. So
Okay. Yeah.
it's not, as I said before, it's an ugly
Yeah, I
display,
remember
but
seeing it, and yeah. So,
it's
but
a great summer, a great master's project for someone.
so many of those. Every time I turn around, there's another master's or PhD project.
Yeah.
What do you know? I have dozens of them.
Where are all our students?
I know,
Yeah.
I'm problem rich.
Yeah.
But I think yeah, I think what one very simple thing we should try is we should try hooking up um the RX, the DX engineering RF Pro 1B loop to one, and and then the other RX 888 to the fan dipole, and see if they both see um the same crazy RFI.
Yeah.
Because then if they do, I think that suggests that it's coming from some of the like HVAC equipment on the roof or something like
Yeah.
that. And if we only see the RFI in the DX engineering loop, then it's just in then it's more likely just a problem with that antenna
Yeah.
or that feed line. And I actually have a spare DX engineering loop sitting about 20 feet over that way that I could
Hmm.
pull out of the garage and be like, here, try different components.
Yeah.
So they could swap things out. So maybe that's a good way to debug it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also
It's a
nice
bit.
thing about the loop is it's easy to turn it, see if you can know the
Yeah.
noise.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you've got that already up there, so you just
Yeah.
you need to have remote access to the spectrum while you're a display the RX 888 KIA web and from a laptop, and then sit up there on the roof and rotate the loop and see what that happens to the.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a good. I think that would be a very interesting. But we can do a couple of other things first, just to be. Uh,
Okay. Well,
but
if
but
you
that's good.
walk, you
I'll
can
work
walk
with
between,
Mitzi.
yeah, and then I'll also talk to him about patching through the fan dipole so that you
Yes.
can get a different view. And
Yes. Could
and
you?
we also
Yeah.
have an array of different verticals, which are really like VHF, UHF verticals, but there's all sorts of. But I think the fan the fan dipole is the thing to try.
Yeah, I think unless you had an E-field probe out there on them, I think
Yeah.
couldn't get much signal. But that's great. I'd be happy to work with them. What's the feed to the fan dipole? How is it fed?
Just it's with
The
LMR 400.
oh, so it's a coax feed up there and a balun
Yeah.
up at the center. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That'll work.
Before we lose everybody, I wanted to make a plug, um, since this is a TAPR-HamSCI joint thing. We're having a TAPR annual meeting October 26th. It's Saturday afternoon. Well, it depends on what part of the country you're in. Information's on the TAPR website, but if you have an interest in TAPR and the changes that have gone on this year, it'll be about a 1 hour meeting, unless all the discussion goes crazy. But uh, so I please invite you to that meeting if you can.
Good. Oh, I forgot one thing. I did finally, JLPCB has accepted my order for 5 units of the field probes. So I plan to send one of those to you, uh, Matthew and Michael, and I think I have another one other that's asked for. As I recall, maybe Dave, you asked. Did you ask for one? I don't know if that interests you, but
Which Dave, me or the other?
no,
Or
no.
Dave New?
Dave McGaw.
Oh, McGaw.
What
No.
about?
Oh, field probe. Yeah, someone mentioned they were interested in the call last week. The antenna,
Yes,
the high impedance antenna field probe.
yes, indeed.
It was you. Okay. Well, then I'll add you as so that leaves one uncalled for. So anyway, it'll be interesting to see. I think especially what Michael learns, and of course it might help you guys too.
Right.
If you want to walk around on the roof with a field probe, uh, it'll show you how good it could be, how good your reception could be, because the field probe you attach it to a little nano, what is it called?
DNA.
Right. Yeah, the
Tiny
spectrum,
essay.
the
Tiny
tiny
essay.
SA. Yeah, attached it to
Right.
tiny SA, and you can walk around and since
Okay.
it's all battery powered, you see nothing but radiated and propagated noise. There's completely balanced environment. So anyway, that's the purpose of that. And it might be a device that would be useful on HamSCI installations next year. I don't know that we need to ship one with every unit, but I think if users have problems and we'll be able to
Yes.
see that,
It,
then this is a tool that might be useful to
it's
send them.
probably something to have like a pool.
Yeah,
If someone has RFI problems, we can
yeah,
send one to them.
yeah. And
Yeah, I'm sure, of course, chasing RFI at the lab. Um, One of the big offenders is a variable frequency drive that goes up to a roof fan.
uh,
God damn it, that's noisy.
uh,
And I think they left the RFI filter off of the unit because it shouldn't be as noisy as it is. But you can disable the filter, and the electricians, oh, what do we need this for?
yeah.
But there's also something in the building. We're actually doing a noise study right now because they're talking about relamping everything and then putting in new HVAC equipment, and they're putting LEDs instead of fluorescents. And the LED replacements they want to put in are Philips that specifically say, do not use this around communications equipment. It's like, oh no.
So I'll tell you, just recently I relamped these fluorescent lights here in the shack, and
Hmm.
they're rapid start. And I use the Sylvania tubes. And
Yeah, but which ones? They've got a whole
it's a
slew of different
T8.
ones.
It's a T8, and it has multicolor selection on it. Um, and it's the type that will work without having to rewire the lamps. So you
Yeah,
can leave
so
the ballast in.
right, type 1.
Yeah. So
Well, if you had a part number, it would really be helpful because they have so many different
I picked this up
versions.
at Menards, and I don't have the box anymore, but maybe I can find it on the
Yeah,
slip.
that would be good if you could find it online or on their website or something.
Yeah,
Be
I've
very,
had
very helpful.
good luck with Sylvania. Every time I go over to Menards and I need a Sylvania bulb for some reason, I'll buy a contractor's pack, and so
Ah,
I've got a set of them in here. I've never experienced any problems with the Sylvanias. So
so these are ones that work with the existing ballast, you're saying?
yeah, they work with the existing ballast. Now I have some extremely old fluorescent lamps in the laundry that date back to the 40s, and they do not work in they don't work in those lamps.
Yeah,
Uh,
those are the old magnetic.
Yeah, yeah,
type
whatever it is, the ballast
ballast.
in it is too old. And if I have to rewire the lamp to make it work with it, but then I might as well just replace the lamp, you know.
Yeah,
But
but yeah, I'm
so
interested in the E-Field probe because I'm just using a short antenna on tiny SA. Plus, I also have an HF, what we call a sniffer that we're using out in the field, like in Antarctica and such. Now, when I use a loop antenna, like our AM Doppler, but that
Well,
doesn't go
this,
very high.
don't you think this actually opens up a separate subject of discussion? I, the the whole business of chasing down all the things that can screw up your signal between the antenna and the receiver is huge. And if we were able, as part of this HamSCI effort, to propose some low cost, both technologies and methodologies that would enable the average person who's trying to install one of these things to survey their site and
Yeah.
find the
This also
sources of
dovetails.
noise, that would be not only valuable to us for scientific purposes, but to the ham community at
Right.
I
That
large.
I
actually
I
dovetails
agree.
to
That would be a great contribution.
I mean,
that
whole books have
dovetails
been
with an
written on
initiative we
RFI.
have here in New England. Our New England section manager has instituted a RFI team or teams. I happen to be part of the one of them, and they actually issued us ICOM 305s as the test receiver, but I think that's really overkill. But we've got some beams and some terminated loop for HF sniffing. But yeah, it's a very important field right now, especially when there are these noise generators running around that call themselves electric cars.
I'm gonna have to say 7-3 for this evening, but I will talk to everyone soon.
Yep.
Thank you.
Good night.